Hi, and welcome back to Yoga with Tim. I'm Tim, and today I want to teach you about opening up your hips for Lotus pose. When I first saw Lotus pose in the book Light on Yoga, I was amazed. I was like, wow, people can put their legs like that. And then I proceeded for the next few hours with one of my buddies to try to jam my legs into this Lotus position and force them. I don't recommend that you do that, because what tends to happen is we pull from our joints. Instead of getting the muscles nice and warmed up and the muscles to want to go into the position, what happens is our joints are more willing to move. And think of the joints like plastic. Once you stretch, like think of a plastic bag that you get from the grocery store. Once you pull that plastic bag and it stretches out, then it never goes back, right? Muscles are more elastic, like a TheraBand. When you pull them apart, then they go back. So when we're stretching, we want to feel the stretch come from the muscle instead of from the joint. Because if once you stretch out that joint, pull on the joint, then it gets stuck like that. It's never as healthy as it originally was. So what I want to encourage you to do is to not jam from your knee joints, not jam from your hip joints. A lot of yogis end up with knee problems and hip problems from moving from their joints instead of from their muscles. So that's just like the disclaimer, the cautionary tale. What's important to be able to go into the Lotus position is a couple of things. You're going to need to have a significant amount of opening in your hips, but you're also going to need to have enough knee flexion to be able to sit into this position, Virasana. So an important pose that you want to work on is sitting in Virasana on a block, but when you sit back, there's kind of like there's a lazy ankle Virasana where your feet are kind of like this or like this. So I want you to make sure that all 10 of your toes are pointing straight back when you go to sit back onto the block. And then once you get this feeling like your feet are pointing straight back, your hips are releasing evenly, then you can try to go a little bit lower and maybe all the way flat. Okay, so that's part of it. We're going to need enough knee flexion to be able to get the foot wrapped into that position. Then we're going to need enough opening in our hips. So there's a couple of important poses that I'll show you. One is Sushumna, which is one leg in the Virasana position. I'm sorry, one leg in the Padmasana position, other leg extended. Sushumna on the other side. Then Padmasana. So both legs in that position. So in this pose, it's really important that you're able to get your knees in line with your hips. So if you're starting out, your knees are way up here, you shouldn't be trying Padmasana, first off. And you should be sitting on a block so you can get the knees nice and level with the hips. If you're already pretty flexible and you get the knees relatively low and your spine upright, then you can work like that. The next important movement is to get enough, is this inversion or eversion? Which one is this one? Eversion. I think it's eversion. Enough eversion in your ankle to be able to take the foot and slide into that Lotus position. So what you'll do is you'll take your right foot and kind of open it up like a book, and then take the left foot and kind of open it up like a book. Now, I do recommend that you've done a little practice before this, like you've done something to warm up your body, like you've done some standing poses and stuff. It just gets blood flowing and gets things to move a little bit better and reduces the risk of going from the joints if the muscles are all heated up. So I'm going to recommend that you do a little bit of standing poses before doing this. Okay, so we're just doing one foot and then the other, picking it up, turning it open like a book, picking another one up, turning it open. Okay, then we'll try both feet turned open like a book. And then instead of trying to push your knees down, I want you to try to pretend like you're pushing out to the sides with your knees. Like the side walls are coming in and you're pushing straight out. And then release that, and then we'll try a couple other variations. There's one where you put the block in between your feet, and then try that push out knee position. Now, if you're starting to slouch back, I'd recommend sitting with your back up against a wall, because if your spine sinks and collapses, then you're cheating from the spine. You're not getting enough movement into the hip instead. And then move the block, bring the feet together. Okay, then we'll work on getting enough stretch in the hip. So we're going to work on, this is the penalty box for Lotus. This is when I used to do Ashtanga yoga, and if you couldn't get in Lotus, the teacher would make you go into the penalty box sometimes. You'd have to sit like this for a couple of minutes on each side until you're able to get the Lotus. So what you do is this called like Agni Stampasana, or I call it double pigeon sometimes. You're just going to take your ankle and cross it to the outside of the knee, the bottom leg knee, and then you're stacking your shins like fire logs, so they should be stackable. The first shin is like almost parallel to the front of your mat. And so if the knee is way up, just work on with your arms, you can kind of lean into it, getting the knee to descend. If the knee releases easily, then you can start to go forward and get some flexion. And that will deepen the sensation that you're feeling in your outer hip and in your piriformis. Let's try it on the other side, see if we can get them to stack. Pretty good. Maybe head down here. Okay. One more good one that you can practice. Good one. One more good one. Another important pose that you can practice is one of my favorites, Gomukhasana. This will also help with the outer hip, getting the outer hip to open up. These are all like pigeon-esque variations. You know, people are into the pigeon these days, really enjoying doing the pigeon stretch. So these are, in my opinion, more beneficial than doing the single-legged pigeon. Maybe I just say that because I don't like it. No, that one's kind of risky on your knee. A little more risky than these ones. Okay, now for the grand finale, you're going to want to be on a sliding surface. One of my favorite stories about Lotus pose comes from my teacher, one of my Iyengar yoga teachers up in San Francisco. He said that he was at one of, which one am I talking to right now? He was saying that he was at Iyengar's place in Pune in India, and this woman, she said, I've never been able to do Lotus. If you can help me to do Lotus, I'll pay you $5,000. And so he came over to her, he had her sit like this, and then what he started to do is he was taking her legs, and he would take one leg, he would hook from the inner knee, grab the foot, pull it in like this, release it. Pull it in like this, release it. Pull it in like this, release it. After having done the Padmasana stretches. Pull it in like this, release it. Pull it in like this. Again, in. And then whips it into the hip crease, takes the other one, whips it in, and he goes, cash a check. That's the story. I don't think he really made her pay. But the point was, by getting to the hip to kind of loosen and this repetitive motion, you kind of like trick your leg into the Lotus position, like so. Okay, now I've done a no-no where I've taken my left leg in first as opposed to the right. It's because I got a bad right knee from years of skateboarding and like just banging this thing around. So the right knee, because I overstretched the ligaments, it doesn't like to go in first. I can do it, but it's not, I don't want to do it for the video because it's going to bust me up even more just to show you. But the right leg doesn't like it as much. So anyways, honor your joints. The point of this, honor your joints, don't force. If you feel your body inviting you into it, like you're like, okay, I can do this, I can bring my legs in this position, then cool, but don't force it. If you have any questions about this, comment below, let me know your thoughts, your questions. But the Upavishta, the Baddha Konasana, these will all help. And if you're having difficulty in your Upavishta, you can work with your back against the wall, because this is a really important pose for getting before you can get the swing going, first to be able to sit in the Upavishta. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, and also subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any more of these helpful videos or any of my full yoga classes. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time.